42-0 victory over Westmoreland out of Montrose, Virginia. On the call for that matchup, Dan Gloster, Winchester's Classic Country, 95-7, a shutout. Dan, what really impressed you from this Judges team?
Just the defense. I mean, they had something like 37 yards at halftime, just totally dominant, wouldn't let them do anything. And then the offense, a little bit of a slow start, but Jamir Washington, big day, 158 yards, 11 carries, and didn't even play the second half, and he had 3 total touchdowns. So, yeah, just a business-like type of game for Handley. And a lot of reserves got to play, which that'll help them, not only the reserves but the coaches, in evaluating them and getting them ready for when they'll be playing themselves full-time.
Coach Jake Smith preaches the importance of explosive plays, and I feel like there are a lot of those. What do you see from the skill guys on Handley's offense?
I believe second play from scrimmage, Amari Brown, 45-yard touchdown run. That's not bad. And then again, Jamir Washington, the 48-yard touchdown run. So, yeah, some good explosive plays for Handley in this game.
And defensively, pitching a shutout, I know that's always a good sign to see. What really stood out to you collectively on the defensive side of football?
They couldn't run the ball. I mean, they just completely shut down their run. They were in negative yardage for the first half, stat-wise, running the football. So if you can't run it, it's going to be probably pretty hard, and they were limited on offense to begin with. So, just stopping the run was their big key.
The post-game show's coming up, but just a tidbit. Handley's 5-0. They have a bye week. Kettle Run coming off a loss to Millbrook last night. They're on a bye week. And guess who's at the Handley Bowl next week?
2 weeks. It'll be
2 weeks, yes.
October 11th. It will be Kettle Run coming to Handley to take on the Judges. Kettle Run losing last night. Congratulations to those Millbrook Pioneers for going to Kettle Run. I mean, I know they lost the state championship game last year in Class 3 Kettle Run, but I bet it's been a long time since they've lost a game at home. But credit the Pioneers going there 14-7. You give up 7 points to that team that's been scoring at will against just about everybody. So should be a great matchup on October the 11th. We'll be doing that game, of course, on 95-7.
Yeah, that should be a very exciting matchup. We'll dive into that as we get closer to time. But that's Dan Gloster, Winchester's Classic Country 95-7. I'm Josh Kirby. The post-game show continues right after this. Jamir Washington joining me, 42-0 victory over Westmoreland. Jamir, due to the conditions, it seemed early on when, with a little bit more heavy rain, more run heavy. What did you see from the aspect of the running game? It looked like you had a pretty nice day out there.
Yeah, I just had to adapt to it. It didn't affect us as much, but we just had to run the ball, run hard the whole time, hit the hose fast. Yeah.
What do you see from the offensive line there on some of those big plays?
When I got the ball, the holes were wide open. I love it. But, in the beginning I had a couple mistakes juking back, but I fixed that. I just trusted my speed, and then I got out of there sometimes.
Was the game plan any different due to the weather, or was it pretty much business as usual?
As Coach said, the rain doesn't affect anything. It's just all mindset. And if the rain affects you, you're not a football player, so you got to play as hard as you can through it, and can't let it affect you.
So the rain not really a factor in this game with your performance?
Mm-hmm. Not really, but I did drop a punt, but it's not an excuse that my gloves are wet, so I took them off. I just worked all game.
Yeah. So I mean, a big win like this team's undefeated so far going into a bye week. What's the confidence like?
The confidence is up. We're going on practice on Monday. We got a bye week. We got 2 weeks to prepare for Kettle Run, the biggest game of the year. And we want to work hard and get what we didn't get last year.
Jamir, really appreciate your time. Congrats on the win.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Amari Brown joining me, 42-0 Judges victory over Westmoreland. How did it feel out there? I know the conditions maybe not the best, but looked like you were making some good plays out there.
Yes, sir. It feels good. Not used to this weather. Used to being hot outside practicing, but we got to adjust. Made it happen. So, good game.
In just the weather and stuff, did that sort of play a factor, or was it just business as usual?
It's just business as usual, we knew what it was going to be, so just did what we had to do.
Absolutely. What do you see collectively offensively? It looked like a lot of explosive plays with which Coach Smith always preaches about. What do you see?
I see our O-line working really hard. You know, they go hard in practice every day. So I think I seen them the most. Our quarterback did good. Everybody really did good. Played their role really well.
And just offensive line, that's a huge part in creating those holes. How valuable is the offensive line? I know it's still early in the season, but just seeing all the hard work they're putting in to make this offense work so well.
I feel like they're a big part of the offense, like almost 80% of it. They make everything happen for us. So big shouts out to them.
Bye week coming up. I know probably some rest, but to get some more work in as well. What's the confidence like going into a bye?
It's the same thing as all year. Stay focused, you know. We just know it's a big game coming up, so we got to stay focused this whole week.
Amari Brown joining us 42-0. The Judges over Westmoreland. Appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The Judges over the Eagles 42-0 here at home. Coach Jake Smith joining me now. Coach, I want to start with the conditions, maybe with the rain. Was there sort of maybe something you were coaching your team on in terms of the wet conditions and maybe how the ball plays or anything of that nature? Was it just business as usual?
Oh, man, you know, anytime you get weather, you know, one thing we talk about all the time, weather's not a factor. Whether it's raining, snowing, cold, hot, you know, it really doesn't matter. You know, there's a few things that you got to pay attention to. Obviously, when the surface is wet and the ball is wet, you know, it just takes a little bit more effort and concentration to hang on to the ball, to catch the ball, to throw the ball. But really, that's about it as far as the weather goes. It doesn't really change, you know, how we operate, call plays, or that sort of thing.
And what that looked like early on, just based on what I saw, maybe a little bit run-heavy approach at first, but getting some passing in there. Was that sort of how you dialed it up, or sort of due to the conditions there?
We want to be able to establish a ground game and be able to run a football, and so we want to try to make a point of that today. And so I think our offensive line did a good job, you know, of stepping up to that, and our backs did a good job, you know, finding holes and creases, you know. And then obviously, anytime you can be balanced and add some passing attack in there too, I think it's a positive thing. So, you know, we're going to continue to mix it up. You know, we're close to a 50-50 team, run to pass, and so, you know, that's just kind of who we are this year. And I think we've done a good job of executing so far. But, you know, we have a long way to go, you know, to be where we want to be as far as an execution standpoint. And so this bye week coming up is going to be a huge point of emphasis for us. We need to win that bye week.
And Jamir running the football seemed like he was making some great things happen in part of the offensive line. What did you see out of him?
You know, I think Jamir has done a great job of transitioning from receiver to tailback. You know, he's done some things in the offseason in the weight room, you know, to add some size, you know, so he can handle a little bit more of that load. And so, you know, credit to him for doing that. You know, there's times where, you know, his eyes aren't always 100%, but he's gotten better as the year's gone on. And I think today specifically, you know, he saw the field better than he has in any game.
And defensively, too, pitching a shutout there, that must be very good for you and the coaching staff to see what really stood out from that aspect.
You know, I think our ability to stop the run is huge for us. You know, anytime you can try to make a team one-dimensional, you know, I think things play into your favor. You know, and then moving into the second half, you know, playing some backups and our freshmen out there, executing the same game plan, you know, just from a program standpoint, you know, really proud of that they continued to execute at a high level, you know, all the way down to the freshman program.
I mean, it looked like towards the end, some of the backups in there looked like you all were just having some fun with it. I know I didn't catch the receiver's name, but overthrew the pass there. But just having fun with them and coaching them out. How huge is that experience for your younger guys?
I mean, anytime you get guys experience, it's big, you know, particularly game experience. And so, you know, I think it was a good opportunity for them to get in and get some quality reps. And, you know, they made a lot of the opportunities that they had, you know, in the game today.
And just looking a game like this with confidence, I know you mentioned the bye week coming up and you want to win the bye week. Yeah, how huge is that going into your bye week with a big win like this?
You know, I think it's good to go into a bye week with a win. I think our bye week is timing up, you know, really nicely here at the middle part of the season, you know, midway through, you know, get some guys healthy that have some, you know, little, you know, aching and some nagging, lingering injuries. And then, we have to get better during the bye week. We don't have a game, but our point of emphasis, we're practicing on Monday. We're not taking that day off. We need to get better in order to move our program forward. And our team knows that, and they want to do that, and they're excited about it. And so, I'm really excited about moving into this week and trying to win it.
And just looking, I know some of the Handley basketball players came over and are doing some good things on the football team. The versatility of a multi-sport athlete, how huge is that, and how you like the contributions of Amari and Isaiah on the team so far?
Yeah, Amari and Isaiah are outstanding players for us, defensively and offensively. They come up huge in almost every game, in one way or another. Amari has an interception today, Isaiah has several in the year. They both have scored multiple touchdowns. And so, anytime you get that kind of performance, from those guys on game day, it's a great thing. But, if you look at a practice and you come to practice and watch us, those two guys go the same speed in practice as they do on game day. And so, they do a great job of leading by example for us and doing the right things.
And defensively, looking at the defensive line, I saw sort of some Westmoreland's quarterback sort of getting pressure there. What did you see defensive line-wise?
Our defensive line does a great job of getting off the ball and playing with leverage. Jamir Washington does an outstanding job of being able to bend off the edge, using his size to his advantage. And then inside, you got Carson Green and Tyler Davis, who do a great job of creating pressure, in the A and B gaps. And so, their ability to get off the ball and use their hands has been great.
42-0, the Judges heading into their bye week undefeated. Always a pleasure, joined by the head coach of the Handley Judges, Jake Smith. Congrats on the win. Appreciate the time.
Yep, thanks for having me.